Am I the asshole for lashing out at my family for calling my fiancée my second wife? Years ago, I was married to a close friend. We were roommates, adopted a dog together, and lived together since college until our mid-late 20s, married at 24 and 25. However, we were never actually romantically involved. She was not interested in marriage and also questioning her sexuality at the time, but her family was ultra-traditional, and messy for many other reasons, and kept pushing for her to settle down. I had just gotten out of a rough long-term relationship, and we kind of just both said fuck it. We basically were kind of living like a married couple. Let's get married for convenience. So we did the paperwork for it, but we never had a wedding. We were also never romantically involved. She just was not my type and I was not hers. My family knew she wasn't my wife in the traditional sense, they did heavily disapprove though. When I started getting back into the dating scene, we split up and legally divorced. She remains one of my close friends to this very day, and I care for her a lot. It's been a few years, and I am now 32 with a lovely fiancé who I cannot wait to marry. However, ever since I announced the engagement my family has been making weird comments, like, "Oh, so Roxy's my dog, is getting a new stepmom. Wife number 2 at 32 huh? That's a lot of wives for your age. Let's hope this second one lasts." It makes both me and my fiancé uncomfortable. I keep on saying that my close friend wasn't really my wife in the traditional sense, but my family brushes me off by saying that they're just joking, or she's technically my second wife anyway, so it's not like they're wrong. Today at breakfast though, I blew up at them and called them disrespectful and rude for belittling my relationship. My mom and my sister both said that if I didn't want to hear these statements, I shouldn't have married my close friend. I threatened to not invite them to the wedding, and now things are super tense. Am I the asshole? Some edits from the comments I made to help answer some common questions. Why I married my close friend. Health insurance, mostly, but also because they kept holding her tuition over her head. We were both in grad school at the time. She was gunning for a PhD. I was going for a master's, but I had a job in an energy commission with some benefits. They'd always tell her that they'd stop sending her money or, some months when the arguing was bad, not send her money at all. They used money to punish her, basically. She had a lot of health issues at the time that she couldn't get help for, like chronic pain and wisdom teeth that really needed to be removed, alongside some other personal issues. So getting married got them off her back about her sexuality, got her on my health insurance plan, and got them to be more consistent on sending tuition money for her. There were a few other things too, like how they kept setting up potential arranged marriages for her or threatening to take her home to their country. There was also a time when they threatened to have her committed to a mental health facility. At the time, she was also really reluctant on letting me help her beyond minor things because she felt like it was something she had to repay. So between us, it also gave me an excuse to help her. I'd be like, "Hey, it's what your spouse is supposed to do, right?" Even though we both agreed that our marriage was a farce, I think it did something for her psychologically to accept that we had a legally binding relationship where I could help her. I don't know, it was complicated, but it was something that worked for us. I was able to pay for her treatment and let her use my money for herself. She has now graduated and is financially stable. To my knowledge, she no longer speaks with most of her family. She's doing amazing for herself and I am so damn proud of her. My fiancé. My fiancé knows about my past marriage and has no issue with it. I met her through my close friend, actually, as a mutual of a mutual. At the time I was already split from my close friend, and while she was initially confused, me and my close friend both sat her down and explained things as clearly as possible. She understands why we did what we did. My family. I was always 100% transparent with my family on my marriage with my close friend. My family understood that I went through a rough relationship before my marriage. I think my mom's exact words at the time were, "I won't force you to do anything, but I'm really disappointed that you take marriage so lightly." They understood that I married my close friend to help her, but I also got the slight impression that they figured everything would sort itself out with our marriage, i.e. I would fall in love with her or something. My aunts and uncles didn't say much else than that they were disappointed that they couldn't attend a real wedding. When I met my fiancé, I told them how it was a big deal to me that it was my first, genuine, supportive romantic relationship in a long time. At the time, they all seemed happy for me and no comments like these came up. They told me they were glad I was able to find love again. It was only when we announced the engagement that these comments started. Not the asshole. I mean, technically they are correct. She is your second wife. so I guess you are a slight asshole if I only look at the title. However, if their comments make you and your wife uncomfortable and you have asked them multiple times to stop, then they are the bigger assholes for continuing. She is your second wife. If you didn't want to have a number assigned to wives, you shouldn't have gotten married to your first wife. This is ridiculous. Your family is an asshole for bullying your second wife when she's clearly uncomfortable. You're an asshole for trying to pretend you weren't married, for absurdly stupid reasons on your part. Not the asshole. Yes, they are correct, and yes, she is your second wife, but if you specifically asked them to stop and not mention your first marriage, that should have been the end of the discussion. Their comments are mean-spirited by now. Not the asshole. What they are saying is accurate, but their intention is to continue to make their displeasure about your first marriage known again and again. And in doing so, they are knowingly make your fiancé uncomfortable. What is the damn point of that? You've asked them to stop and they refuse. They are the AHs here. Hi. We are insulting you many times, but that is okay because we say it's a joke. Why aren't you laughing? Invite them to the wedding so they can insult you on that day, too. It will be a joke. Tell them a joke. My wedding was last month. Where were you? Am I the asshole for telling my sister what my dad did? I, 16 female, and my sister, 18 female, are really close. We hang out whenever she's in town and we are almost always texting or calling each other. My dad, 37 male, sees my brother, 10 male, as the golden child. If he does anything wrong, either I get the blame or, it's not a big deal. My mother, 34 female, has treated all of us the same. My parents are divorced. All of my siblings, except my sister who is in college, stay with my mom during the weekdays and stay at my dad's in the weekends, but sometimes my brother stays with my dad for a whole week. A few weeks ago me and my brother were staying at my dad's house during the weekend. We arrived really late since my brother packed later than usual, so we went to bed straight away. The next morning I woke up the last one while my dad made eggs for my brother and I made cereal for myself. We spent the morning telling our dad about school and life in general. He mostly listened to my brother and then I would talk after him. After breakfast my brother ran upstairs, me following him, to show my dad something. When we ran back down my brother accidentally fell, hitting his back against a table and making a photo frame fall, causing it to break. My brother is fine, he just had a little bruise. My dad, who saw what happened, started to yell while my brother started to cry. He comforted my brother, then told him to leave the room because he had to talk to me. After my brother left, my dad started to yell at me about how I broke the photo and how he wants me to pay for it. I then told him that he saw everything happen and my brother did it, not me, so he should get the blame since it's his fault. He then explained how I should have told him not to run and should have caught him before he fell, so in the end it's my fault entirely. I stood there in shock for a few minutes, then told him that I will not be paying for the photo frame, and if he really sees that I'm the person to blame in this situation, then I'm sorry, but it's not my fault, it's his golden child's fault. Then I ran upstairs before he could say anything more. Later that day my brother and dad went out to an amusement park nearby to cheer my brother up and I stayed home. I messaged my sister. After about an hour passes, my sister called me and we talked. She asked me how my dad is doing and what's going on. I then started to cry, telling her what happened as she listened. Hours later my dad and brother come home and we have dinner. Then we go back to our moms a few days later. That was weeks ago, and now my sister refuses to speak to our father until he apologizes to me, and my dad blames me for telling her, saying that I shouldn't have, and now I destroyed their relationship. Am I the asshole? Edit. I told my mom about what happened and now she's no longer allowing me to go see him even if he apologizes. She tried to do the same with my brother, but now my brother refuses to leave my dad's house and she can't force him to leave the house. Not the asshole. Your father is playing favorites. He has to face the consequences of his acts. If I were you, I would not go to his house on weekends. I think you are old enough to choose, and this type of attitude rarely changes. Not the asshole. Your sister is not talking to your father because of his abusive behavior. Your father is being an asshole and abusive. It is a good thing to tell others about your experiences if they are safe people. It sounds like your sister has your back and your dad is playing the victim card for a situation he created all on his own. Not the asshole. Do you have to go to your dad's? You're currently being treated as a scapegoat, and it's emotionally abusive, but your dad can't do that if you're not there. Talk to your mom and say you don't want to go to your dad's anymore. You should get a say because you're 16. I'm glad your sister is on your side. The only person destroying relationships is your dad. Not the asshole. The dad destroyed the relationship with you both and you have every right to tell your sister. You are not the asshole, but your father sure is. As a father of 5, 4 boys and a girl, I am disgusted by his actions and attitude. He is not only ruining his relationship with you and your sister but also crippling your brother for life with his preferential treatment. As a man, I get frustrated when I hear people talk about misogynistic men. Actually, infuriated. However, I am not so naive to think they do not exist. Your dad is one shining example. He not only owes you an apology, he should be begging your forgiveness for his shortcomings as a father. Not the asshole. Am I the asshole for asking that my husband not share pictures of us? Throw away, since there's some information that would make it clear who I am to anyone who knows me. Friday night, my husband, 28M, and I, 26F, went to a nice dinner hosted by my husband's company. The dinner was mainly to celebrate the great year he and his team had, so he was basically the center of attention. I purchased a new white dress for the night. When I put it on before we left, my husband told me that the dress was practically see-through and left nothing to the imagination. I looked in the mirror, and he seemed to be exaggerating, so I told him that it wasn't nearly as noticeable as he was making it out to be. You could sort of see the outline of my bra, but everyone wears underwear, and, unless someone was deliberately looking, it wasn't an issue. We went back and forth a bit. I didn't have any other dresses that fit me, as I recently gained a bit of weight and haven't had a need to dress formal. He said he'd rather me dress more casually than wear that. After a bit of back and forth, he gave in and I wore it. We went to the dinner. I got to meet a lot of his county workers and bosses. It was lovely. Afterwards, he wanted to make a post on social media about the night, and asked me to choose which pictures to include. I saw the pictures of me, and my jaw dropped. The flash from the camera, and the lighting in general, made my outfit way more revealing than it looked in the mirror at home. You can see every roll, every freckle, it leaves almost nothing to the imagination. I was completely embarrassed, and told my husband not to post them. He told me that he has no pictures of him without me, so there's not really much he could post from the night. I asked him to Photoshop my outfit a bit, to make my dress less revealing, and he said that he doesn't know how to do that. After an argument, I won and he agreed not to make the post, but he said he still wants to send some to his parents directly. And, I'm sorry Reddit, none of them look flattering, they make me almost look naked. He said, since his county workers and bosses saw me like that, he should at least be able to show his parents as well. I feel like, since my husband agreed that the dress was too revealing, he should be understanding that I don't want him sharing pictures of it with family. His co-workers and bosses are one thing, I never have to see them again. But family is family. He thinks that I'm not being fair. In his words, I insisted on wearing the dress, and now I'm preventing his family from seeing pictures because of it. It's now Sunday morning and he's still not giving in. I want to just forget about the whole thing and move on. He seems to really want to share pictures of the night. I'm not sure what to do, whether I should give up and tell him to send it anyway to put it behind us, or whether I should stand up for myself. So Reddit, am I the asshole for asking him not to share pictures of us? You may not be wrong in keeping the pictures offline, but you are the asshole. This was an important event for your husband. He pointed out the issue with your dress and asked you not to wear it. You wore the dress anyway, so you got what you wanted. Then you see the pictures and surprise it's as he stated. You demand he doesn't share pictures and again you get what you wanted. He has every right to be frustrated. I'm all for setting boundaries, but honestly you are the asshole. He told you before you ever left it was revealing. He told you to change. He explained why. Multiple times it sounds like. But you just had to be right and wore it anyway. I don't see how many of this is his fault now. You are the asshole. You wanted the dress, and all of a sudden it's too revealing? Stop it. You are the asshole. You dug your own grave. He warned you it was too revealing and practically see-through. You chose to ignore that and wear it anyways. This was an important event for him and he should be able to share that. Granted, you should be able to tell someone not to post photos of you, but you did this to yourself. Absolutely the natural consequences when someone warns about something and you choose to ignore it, then learn the hard way they were right. He's being good by not telling you, I told you so, so I will. He told you so. He's right. He told you. You ignored his warning. Now you got what you got. Suck it up, buttercup. And if how you look bothers you, do something about it. It's hard work, but your confidence will be worth it. Note: I'm saying this as someone who was very obese and lost 80 pounds. Am I the asshole for not paying for my friend's husband? Yesterday, I had invited a group of my girlfriends for a dinner at a restaurant. One of my friend's husband, H, decided to join us even though he wasn't invited. Here's some background. We don't get along well with H. He has never given us the impression that he likes us. He rarely lets his wife hang out with us, and on the rare chance that we do, he is always insistent she goes back home in a couple of hours. He has never let her join us for sleepovers or the rare girls' trip that our schedules allow for. He doesn't like when we go over to their home, and he makes sure we know that with the way that he behaves. Don't get me wrong. There are times that he is pretty chill with us, but those times are rather rare, say, maybe twice in 10 hangouts. He always appears to be angry whenever we're hanging out, and when we ask our friend what's gotten H in such a foul mood, she brushes it off by insisting that he's just tired. None of us is stupid, but we let it go for our friend Sake. However, yesterday I just couldn't let it go when he invited himself over to our dinner claiming that he'd pay for himself. Now, I know him. He is one of the most selfish people I have ever come across, so I knew he didn't really expect to pay for himself. For the most part, I ignored his presence and tried to have fun with my friends, but I was really pissed because I had had enough with the way he treats us and yet, continues to feel entitled. So, when the time to pay the bill came, I decided to split it and pay for myself and my friends who I had invited. Now, I could tell H was taken aback because, in the past, I would have 100% paid for him too, just for the sake of my friend and to avoid any possible conflict. Yesterday, I had had enough though, and so, I was pretty stubborn about not paying for him even when he decided to pass snide remarks about people who can afford to pay, being frugal and whatnot. I chose to not acknowledge them even though I knew he was directing those remarks at me, fully feeling entitled to me paying for him for no reason. The whole debate over the bill lasted for around 5 minutes, after which he paid for himself and was visibly in a really bad mood, which, once again, I chose to ignore. Now, my friend is pissed at me because I didn't pay for her husband. Their argument is that I can easily afford to pay for an extra person, and what's the big deal anyway? They're absolutely right that I can afford to pay for him too, but I don't think I should have to when he's not even nice to me. Frankly, I'm also pissed at my friend for clearly taking her husband's side. My other friends understand where I'm coming from but think I should have just paid for him and moved on, but I still don't think I should have. So, Reddit, am I the asshole for not paying for my friend's husband? Is there really any question? Do I have to buy people things just because I can, although they treat me horribly? Should I listen to other people who tell me to buy things for rude people instead of just telling them to do it themselves if they feel that way? Yeah, if you really aren't sure, not the asshole. Not the asshole. Your friend's husband is a controlling H. It's a girls' night out and he insisted on crashing the party. His behavior indicates he is so insecure he does not trust his wife. Good for you not paying his portion of the dinner bill. His wife needs to stand up for herself and stop this abusive behavior immediately. Do not pay for this jerk ever again. You having the money is not the issue, it's his controlling behavior that is. Not the asshole. You invited her. He invited himself and said he'd pay. End of story. You paid for the people you have a good relationship with who you invited. He is neither. And what's up with your friends? If they wanted someone to pay for H, they could have taken out their own wallets. Is your friend okay though? It kinda reads like there might be abuse going on in the house. You're not the asshole, but I just wonder if you're missing the bigger picture, that he does it to isolate her and you just gave him a good reason to say, "See, this is why you shouldn't hang out with them," melting face.